Hey guys, so after our first outing with the new soundboard, I kind of came across a few different issues that I had to resolve. And so the setup on the board has been amended, not by much. So everything's pretty much the same. You'll see we've got all of our channels on that first fader bank area the same. The channels over here have changed a little bit. So basically what I've done is I've put all the channels that we'll ever actually really have on this second fader bank. So, you know, sometimes we don't have a guitar 3, sometimes we don't have an electric guitar. We don't almost ever have a piano, but maybe in the future if I had a lot of keyboard able players, I would definitely be fine with having a grand piano on stage every Sunday along with keyboard. And then sometimes we use a pad if we don't have a keys player. So I've got that in there, and then these are blank for anything else maybe potentially in the future. But then the user layer 2 on this fader bank. Oh, you might ask where are the vocals, because I moved the vocals, they're not here anymore. So vocals are now over here on user layer 1. This is where the drums dry and the drums compression and vocals dry and vocals compression used to be. But they're no longer here. I've moved them onto user layer 2 over here because these are still going to be our main mixing faders. And so you'll see we've got drums dry over here as a subgroup. And this is a true subgroup, not a DCA. See if it'll focus. So that's an actual bus subgroup. Drum compression, also a subgroup, but that's again used, it's an aux send as an effects. And then vocal dry, a true subgroup, it's the actual bus that used to be over there. And then vocal compression, again, that's the actual aux siphon as, just like this one, as an effect to be utilized that way. And then we've got acoustic, we've got electric guitar, and then here's where this is the only DCA that we're actually going to have to be using. And so this is anything that's a keyboard related instrument will go into here. And so you can set up your mix, you know, over here. Let's say we had all 3 of these, for instance, which usually right now we're only going to really have 1 of these. And so that's why it makes sense just to have, okay, this is your universal channel at all times, just for whatever instrument you have, whether that be a keyboard, a piano, or a pad. But anyway, let's just say we had all 3 of these. We could, just like our other buses, mixed buses, kind of the same thing. So you basically build your mix off of this, and then that's what is being sent to this channel here, okay? So anyway, the acoustic and the electric guitar, if we had a guitar 3, that could go in there. If we had those 3 channels, though none of these are buses right here. So none of these are really a main mixing fader, right, where it's like a collection of channels being sent into one. These are all individual channels. I think that's probably the way to go, because I mean sometimes you're really riding that electric guitar there. Acoustic can basically stay the same, but let's just say we had 2 electric guitars, we had 1 rhythm, 1 lead. On guitar 3 maybe we had a rhythm. And so you'd probably be riding those faders quite a bit more. So that's kind of why we put them there. The overall reason why we can't use the DCAs is because the DCAs affect the volume of the in-ears no matter what. And so that is, I shouldn't say no matter what. There is a way that you can make it so that it's not. But I currently the only confirmation that I've heard from asking around different sound engineers is that you really only want to do that on the keyboard channels, because those are all like, say for instance, keys and the pad, those are professional sounds already, so they can be sent before any sort of filtering, EQ, gate compression, anything like that. So it makes sense to send those, which is why we have a DCA set up for the keys, piano, and pad, because anything you do here, even though it's a DCA, will not affect the keys, piano, or pad, because I have those set up to basically run to our in-ears pre-anything, absolutely anything. But we want to hear the EQ changes for the acoustic guitar, so that's being sent, after in that various chain. Same thing with like vocals. We want to hear a little bit of compression. We want to hear EQ for sure. We don't just want raw signal going to the vocals. So that's why we did away with the vocal DCA, and now we're just running the vocal dry subgroup solely by itself. Same thing with the drums. Drums, we want to hear some processing. So we want to hear the EQ on all the toms. We want to hear like all of that. So it sounds better in our ears. But with that, we can't use a DCA because that volume was being controlled by that DCA to our ears. So in that case, that drums is just set up as a dedicated subgroup alone by itself. I think this setup makes the most sense. We still have this user 2 layer being like our main mixing layer. Like this is basically all of your band basically in one section. So you can really focus on this right here. And the nice thing is that moves all of the compression over here too. So you can spice that in how you see fit. You might be asking where the effects are. Effects haven't actually moved at all. So effects are still over in this section on user layer 2. So we still have our effects there if you want a physical slider. If you don't want a physical slider, you can still use these buttons. You just tap them and see where they're at. And then you can adjust them accordingly. So that's still there like that.